Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the brand new battle traits for the Agents of Chaos factions in Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry. You can find these battle traits available in the new Briar and Bone box set. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. To start off with, first of all, we have the generic Chaos ability. Now, if you're playing a faction, say you're playing the Blades of Khorne Demons, you can choose to either have Blades of Khorne Demons ability or choose to have the generic Chaos ability. The generic Chaos ability is Aspire to Glory, and once per battle round you can add one to the damage points allocated by the first critical hit from a melee attack action made by any friendly fighter with this battle trait that has a points cost of 125 points or less. This is pretty cool because this does leave quite a few fighters able to do this. This wants you to sort of grab numbers on the table, make sure you've got some fighters in there with a very spiky sort of critical damage on them as well. You can act for a variety of different warbands throughout the game. Next is Beastman Ambush. This is for the Beasts of Chaos, and after deployment you can pick a friendly fighter from each battle group that's on the battlefield. Remove those fighters from the battlefield, and at the start of battle rounds 2, 3 and 4 you can place one of those fighters on the battlefield more than 6 inch from each enemy fighter and hold it within 3 inch of one or more board edges. This is pretty cool as it allows you to spread out your fighters throughout the game, maybe get some fast moving pieces that can be good late game objective grabbers, or maybe some real tanks that can grab a piece of treasure that's become available for them and in range, but also provide you with potentially a new big damage dealing piece to take out an enemy or get to a point that you need to get to within a game. And then we have the first of the Blades of Khorne, and this is the Blades of Khorne Demons. Blood calls to blood. If there are one or more friendly fighters with this battle trait on the battlefield, at the end of each battle round you can pick an enemy fighter with one or more damage points allocated to them, roll 2d6. On a roll of an 8+, you allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. This is pretty cool, trying to sort of just spread a little bit of damage around. If you've got a few fighters that can have, multiple attacks against different enemies and you leave someone with a leftover of 3 damage, you potentially can kill them. 8+ on 2d6 is relatively hard. This is definitely one of the more swingy abilities I think there are out of all of the battle traits, but an extra bit of damage, not gonna complain about it. Meanwhile, the Bloodbound for the Blades of Khorne, the mortal side, have no respite. When a friendly fighter with this battle trait is taken down, before they're removed from play, you pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch and roll a dice. On a 4+, allocate d3 damage points to them. So being able to do some damage on death definitely is going to lean into wanting you to have some cheaper fighters on the table. I'm thinking obviously things like your Blood Reavers are going to be wanting to get on the table more. This makes them mightily more useful as they were sort of, a little bit lackluster, I would say, compared to some of the other fighters you do have in the Bloodbound, but this definitely makes them worth taking. Next, the Chaos Legionnaires, one of the specific warbands for Chaos that has come out in 2nd edition. Now, Chaos Legionnaires have the Master Manipulators. When determining who has the initiative, but not when seizing the initiative, if there is a tie, do not roll off. Instead, the player of this warband chooses which tied player has the initiative. If multiple warbands have this battle trait, then it would still be a roll off. This, I think, is a really fun ability. Being able to sort of dictate how those ties go can be really important. Gives you that little bit extra edge in deciding the initiative of the game. Now, it should note this is when determining who has the original initiative, not seizing it. So you can't sort of make up a dice and then make it a tie and then choose to win that tie. You must roll a tie to begin with. The Claws of Karak are next, and No Claw Unbloodied is their ability. Each time an enemy fighter makes a disengage action, you roll a dice. On a 2+, allocate 1 damage point to that enemy fighter for each friendly fighter with this battle trait within 1 inch of that enemy fighter. This is pretty cool because you obviously have the ability to pack tactics in your Claws of Karak, so that's going to allow you to pile multiple fighters into the enemy, and if they're having to retreat and stuff like that, potentially taking quite a bit of damage off them. I think this plays nicely with the abilities you do get access to with the warband. Moving on to the Disciples of Zinch, and the first of these is the Daemon Force. Now, Warp Destiny, after the initiative phase, each player whose warband has this battle trait can pick any 2 double, triple, or quads they have and swap the values of those dice. This is an incredibly powerful ability, allowing you to potentially, swap that quad 1 for a double 6 and then have, the quad 6 and double 1 is incredibly good. Not only that, but it does have use for other abilities as well. Things like a Respite, being able to go to a higher triple is really nice to get some extra healing on some of your fighters as well, and just some generic other abilities that you have for your Disciples of Zinch demons. Moving on to the Arcanites, they have the Warp Fate ability, where after the initiative phase, starting with the attacker, each player of a warband with this battle trait can roll 1 dice for each double, triple, and quad they have. On a 4+, you can change the value of those ability to 6. Once again, just another powerful ability for the Disciples of Zinch. A little bit different, and I do enjoy that the demons and mortals have different abilities in how they sort of play, but similar sort of end results. I like this ability to potentially change, whatever abilities you have to a 6. I think it's nice, and I think for me, this is probably the one I like better out of the 2, because there's every chance you don't roll 2 traits with your double, triples, and quads and all that. Rolling a quad and then a double is not the most likely of things to do, where Warp Fate potentially turning any of the things you have a 50% chance of just being a 6 is really solid. We then have the Heknut of Slaanesh demons, and they have the Lure of the Missing God. After the initiative phase, you can pick an enemy fighter within 1 inch of 1 or more friendly fighters with this battle trait and then roll a dice. On a 3+, until the end of the battle round, that fighter cannot make disengage actions. This is really good in some particular scenarios. If your opponent's trying to carry treasure and get models off the board, this is an incredibly powerful ability. So you can pick an enemy fighter within 1 inch of 1 or more, so you can't sort of stack this with multiple fighters charging in. But, trying to tag as many enemy fighters that are trying to get off the board, carrying treasure, trying to get within range of an inspiring presence or whatever they're trying to do, being able to stop them is solid. And then the Sybarites, the mortals for the Heknuts of Slaanesh, have Pain-Fueled Rapture. After a friendly fighter with this battle trait is allocated 1 or more damage points by an attack action or reaction, you can choose for this fighter to enter a Pain-Fueled Rapture. If they do so, you allocate 3 damage points to that friendly fighter, but then add 2 to the attack characteristic of the next attack action made by that fighter. So this is pretty cool. If you know you're going to survive, you allocate the damage, you get more attacks, and you essentially probably be able to take off whatever has been hitting you. I think this is a really solid ability, allowing you with your glass cannons to potentially take more damage and hit out even harder. Next up are the Horns of Hashoth. This is another one of the Chaos-specific warbands that has come out in the Nullwood. Now they have a Realm of Fire and Ash. If 1 or more friendly fighters with this battle trait are on the battlefield, each time an enemy fighter suffers impact damage, you subtract 2 from that dice roll to a minimum of 1. This is pretty cool, enabling you to just jump off things and not suffer an awful lot of damage. Solid all round. Not the most powerful ability, but definitely has its uses and will be really useful potentially in running away with things like treasure and all of that, or getting models off the board if you are on platforms. The Mangakin of Nurgle, the last of our 4 major Chaos Gods, or I guess the 4th out of the 5th major Chaos Gods now in modern Age of Sigmar. The Demons first with Infection Vectors. At the start of each battle round, you roll a dice for each enemy fighter within 1 inch of 1 or more friendly fighters. On a 5+, allocate 1 damage point to that fighter. Enemy fighters with this battle trait or the disease-ridden battle trait, though, are unaffected. So essentially this doesn't work on other Nurgle models. It's pretty cool, just being able to deal a little bit of extra damage at the start of each battle round to enemy fighters near your friendly fighters. It's extra damage. The Rotbringers are the mortal version of the Mangakin of Nurgle. They have disease-ridden, where at the start of each battle round, you can pick an enemy fighter within 1 inch of friendly fighters, roll a dice. On a 5+, that fighter cannot use abilities or reactions. Enemy fighters with this battle trait or the Infected Vectors battle trait cannot be affected, as you would expect, the same as the Demons of Nurgle one. But I do think the 5+ here is by far better than the Demons version. Not being able to use abilities or reaction on 33% of the time if you're within range of a Nurgle model at the start of the battle round is incredibly powerful and can really hamper your opponent's plans. We then have our third Nurgle faction, and this is the Rotm Creed. They have the Waiting for Lord Leech ability, where enemy fighters that are within 1 inch of 2 or more friendly fighters with this battle trait cannot make disengage actions. This definitely makes your sort of lesser fighters really useful for sort of tag teaming and all that. If you can, with your warband at the end of the round, if you know your opponent's not going to be able to take you out, you start sort of just tagging multiple enemy fighters that they're going to have to attack. And even if they're swinging their attacks and killing one of your fighters off, if they're carrying treasure or trying to escape the board, you aren't wasting full activations against them, and with them having to fight instead of retreating. Next is the brand newest Chaos God, the Scaven. They are always more, so at the end of battle rounds 2 and 3, you can pick a friendly fighter with this battle trait that is taken down and has a points cost of 70 or less. At the start of the next battle round, you can place that fighter on a platform or on the battlefield floor, more than 6 inch from each enemy fighter, objective and treasure token, and within 3 inch of 1 or more battlefield edge. This is really cool, like allowing us to finally play with like the seething swarms of Skaven. It obviously only works on your lesser fighters, and you do get this 2 rounds, so essentially you can get 4 extra fighters if your fighters are being taken down. I think this is really great, just enabling you to get those extra fighters in, get those fighters where you need them, allowing Skaven to feel like they should, I think in Warcry is great. Slaves to Darkness, our sort of generic Chaos faction, have For the Glory of the Dark Gods, and while more enemy fighters are taken down than friendly fighters with this battle trait, add 3 to the value of your ability dice to a maximum of 6. So essentially, you want to be slaying. I think this is going to be the interesting one for me of where you sort of choose Chaos or this. Depending on how you sort of built up your Slaves to Darkness warband. If you have got more Marauders, more cheaper sort of fighters, you're going to go Aspire to Glory, where if you are playing with more Slaves to Darkness, the Wall of Iron, if you will, the Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights, you're going to want to be playing with the For the Glory of the Dark Gods ability. And lastly, we have our last Zinch warband as well, the Jade Oblisk. Blessings of the Speaker is their ability, and the first time this battle that a friendly fighter with this battle trait uses the Bloody Tribute ability, you can remove each damage point allocated to one friendly fighter with the Icon Barrier rune mark instead. So just being able to soup up one of your abilities, this is nice, you know, it's a once per game ability, and I always think those are sort of iffy at best, but at least it is going to fully heal your Oblisk Bearer, which is a very central part of how you are going to play with your Jade Oblisk. We hope that this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and that I was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below and we'll endeavour to get back to you. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe and join our Discord server as well, linked in the video's description, for all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry content.